Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today I want to talk to one of our special citizens from a little bit back. I would introduce him yet. Let me introduce my co-host first and then we will take it up. Narada Wilson, welcome to the set.
Always a pleasure to be here, Steve, and in great company also as we go forward on this topic.
And next to Narada is Selwyn Melville. Selwyn, welcome to the set.
Muchas gracias por su presentación. Me gusta el show de Field of Dreams. Thanks very much for having me here. I'm really grateful to get here. And hey,
I see you.
let's talk about being here in special company. I'm very happy to be here. I mean, one of the best that ever walked on the planet in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah, so,
I see you. You talk Spanish as well.
suficiente para mi comida.
Okay, good.
Enough for my food.
That means what? You learned Spanish in school, or you visited?
You know what happened there? In school, we had a teacher, a principal who was very much a Spanish lover.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that in school I never really followed the Spanish much. And then becoming a broadcaster, I had to travel a lot in other countries in the world.
Right.
So where we work from here, Pan Am Games, CAC Games, and all these things represent the Spanish countries more or less. I had no choice to learn by force. So
And that's the
why.
best way.
Oh yeah, learn it in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, because in school we didn't do much of the palabra thing, much of the talking. We do all the sentences and all the structural business that goes with the language. But in the streets, pure talk.
I'm glad to have you. Today we want to talk football, right? And football in Trinidad. And you
Santa
know
Claus.
how much is happening. There's a lot of stuff is happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you're famous for, and I showed, when I say it, my viewers is going to pick up, oh yeah,
That's
famous for not Maximus dance song, but famous for the branding of Soca Warriors, right?
Amen. Mm-hmm.
And how did that thought came about?
You know, we were in LA. We played El Salvador. And El Salvador had a sign on it that they were using that day, ahora o nunca, now or never.
Right.
So I went back to the hotel. I said, somebody may kill me for saying this, but the strike squad name didn't really travel as much on as you'd have wanted. So I said, well, I'll try something. And then I came up with a couple of thoughts and names. And a friend of mine who was at Nestle, Trinidad, I told her, I said, I'm trying to play around with some names. And the names I have, so-and-so. I said, but I'm leaning towards Soca Warriors. She said, go with that. And that's how it is. Then we kept it quiet for a while. Then I was in Miami, where we played the Orange Bowl against Colombia. We beat them 4-3. I'd been trying initially with some of my colleagues in the media to use the name, but they didn't take me seriously. So in that game, Stuart John scored a triple in that game. Without Dwight York and Russell Latvian, we beat Colombia 4-2 with some World Cup stars.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was probably ideal then to push the name.
Correct.
And in the newspaper, in The Guardian, the story came out, Soca Warriors shock Colombians. That was the headline I'd done in the story. A friend of mine, Zahid Mohammed, was the editor that night, so everything went smoothly. And after that, the authorities of football, the gods of football in Trinidad, decided to use the name without even having a conversation. So I spoke to them, said, how could you do that? And we had initial conversation, but then they didn't want to recognize whatever I would have done or is doing or whatever. So a battle ensued with war of words. But I was subtle enough and wise enough to understand. It's not about going out in the streets and shouting and crying to your mother and your father about what they're doing to me and so on. So at subtle times, I would probably get a newspaper article or something just to remind them the source. And then we were doing well with the World Cup, 2006. And when it was realized that we're going to have a chance to get to the World Cup final, then the whole momentum changed. Maximus did the song, and it wasn't regarded very much at the start. But then as things changed, momentum building up the heat, you know, and it became like an anthem for the people.
Right.
And from there, it was history. We qualified for the World Cup, and it was just chaos all over the place. But I was a fella they didn't recognize, and I think that you had to have strength, will. But how I grew up in the country in Tobago, right? So I'm a country boy. I know about hard knocks,
Right.
right? So with all that they did, I took it with a smile on my face and just lived. So everybody went to Germany. I wasn't lucky enough to go to Germany, but it didn't matter to me really, you know, because I grew up in martial arts as a young fellow going to school and things. So, and when I left school, I was already heading for a black belt in Shotokan, karate. Then I did a bit of thing called Tiger System, and later on we did Taekwondo. So, and I know in this situation what happens really when you're under pressure, even in fighting, you're always waiting to see where there's an opening and you get the best punch you can get in and finish the fight. And so I kept that kind of discipline with me. They went to Germany, everybody had a good time, and name big all over the place. I didn't get a dinner mint for it. So, and everybody say, hey man, oh, they're treating you so, this, you're the original and all that, but my thoughts were far away from that kind of thing. I have more to think about in life. And knowing that when I'm meeting up past you, that's what we say in Tobago. So I think even now, people ask me questions and I say, well, it's not what I didn't get, it's what I'm about to receive.
Right.
So I see life in an entirely different way to how most people will see it. So I don't get into the fights, and I carried as much dignity as I could. I think...
You have any strength in the name now? Like every time they use Soca Warrior,
well, what's
does
happening?
that bring you royalties?
Well, royalty, this is not a royal country. This is a country of...
Well, it brings you fame.
No, well, I don't look for fame, you know. But hear
What
me.
does it bring you?
It brings me...
Every time they
well,
use
what happened there, in all honesty, when John Williams became president, there was all likelihood that this would have been a settled matter. And it didn't work out that way, unfortunately. But when Mr. Wallace came in as president, they had conversations with me prior. And they were saying, look, once this thing happens, we're going to recognize you for your value, because no one could actually come and tell us or bring proof. Many have tried to bring some measure of proof to the table, but it was just fooling stories and not real. So we did that. I have a friend in Jersey. He called a lawyer here. He said, this man has to help you. So he called me, I went to him, and he put me on to a guy called Egon Embrak, who is a lawyer who deals with trademark matters and all that, trained in the US. So, and they said, well, hey, we'll work with you. About 3 other guys came on board, and they worked with me. When Wallace became president, we sat, we discussed the matter, and a consent order was signed for the matter to be dropped from the court, because when we had sent a pre-action to John Williams' organization, administration, if you want to call it that, they tried to avoid anything to do with the court. And they were just prolonging and prolonging. So when that came, fait accompli. We could
Tell
have
you
gone
what
on.
we're going to do. We're going to, on this show, we're going to let the viewers see you, the public see you. This is the guy who first bring up the name, or first get the name going as Soca Warriors, and that's where we got the name.
And
Yeah.
just to add to it, you mentioned that the first time you probably brought it across was during the game in El Salvador, and I just wanted you to highlight what year that was, so we kind of have a timeline.
It was
because I think that game was prior
98.
to, was
The game
about
with El Salvador was 98 in January. Russell Latapy and the same Dwight York, and they did not come to that game.
Correct.
But then later on, I'd created the name, and in '99, that game was played in with Colombia
Yes, in
the Orange Bowl.
Correct.
And that's when I used it in the broadcast,
Right.
and also in the written matter for the Guardian.
Correct. Because
that way.
it did come to light more, you know, on the public domain around 2005 when everybody picked it up
Yeah.
because of what was happening. But
By
it was
the-
coined in '98 was
yeah.
the first time, right?
You know, there's a guy called Peter Miller
Yeah.
who was the other thing called FCUT at the time.
Right.
And he was at the teachers' building on St. Vincent Street, the office was there. And when I spoke to Jack about it, Jack said, well, Peter Miller said it wasn't me. I said, well, I know better. Guys speak the truth, eh?
Yeah, because people associate probably Maximus Dan more than you
Yeah.
with the Soca Warrior thing.
Even though
He's
his song is actually named Fighter and not
Yeah,
even...
fighter. Yeah.
Right.
But we were real good friends, Maximus and I. You know, I have events, charity concerts that I put on, and Maximus will come and sing for me at no cost on these events because of the friendship we have. So we're good.
So what are you doing now?
All right, so
What are you
the
doing?
story about Soca Warriors, I tell you, well, the consent order was signed.
Yeah.
The court acknowledged the consent order,
Right.
and it's now the possibility for the trademark to happen.
Right. So this belongs to you.
It's
That
part of
name,
me, solamente, you know.
and then Solamente.
Yeah,
Right.
so
And
And
now you're gonna push it and get your royalties now.
Well, the agreement, from what I read with one of the matters, is that they came to mutual consent, and going forward, there's an agreement with profit sharing if things have to come.
yeah, but what happened there is that in the middle of all that, they got rid of Wally Sunday. And
Wow.
so God is good. I tell you what, though, it's a brand,
Correct.
and it has its own value, its own worth. It's all over the world. So it's not a fly-by-night situation. And now that we're seeing some sort of calm in the waters of football, hopefully we would see what happens in the near future. But it doesn't bother me one way or the other. And I tell you something, for me, it's not about money, you know. From the initial stage, of course, you create something, God gave you the will to create, and you have to appreciate what God has given to you. And then what it brings to the table, I must be very comfortable and very proud and happy with something. It's also something for my generations. Because even the Bible tells you, you know, a man prepares for the future of his generation. And that's what's important. So for me, that is the most important factor, is that whatever I have done or would do will be in the best interest of my generations. And it has very little to do with me as a person. Because we're just passing through, you know.
We all.
Yeah. And you have to leave a legacy. Your legacy, Brother Steve.
But your legacy is bigger than mine. Your legacy
No,
is Soca
right.
Warrior.
Boy.
And that's the name.
Hey, man. You've been joking. Yours is big, man.
Yeah.
And for me, as a young fellow growing up, I was in Tobago. It was a proud thing to hear your name called. Roll Rafi was doing all the commentary, and I never even thought of becoming a commentator. I was just enjoying country life in Tobago. So you have your mark that you have made and indelible.
Right. So let's talk football then. Let's talk football in this country. I mean, there's so much things going on. You want to say something?
No, that's fine.
So there's so much
You enjoying the
stuff.
conversation, eh?
Huh?
You enjoying the
I am.
conversation?
No, well, he's part of the conversation.
I know.
And he has all the time to get
prepare.
in. But let's
Yeah.
talk football. There's so much going on. And maybe we can talk about some of the plans you have for other things.
Yeah.
Because I know you're an entrepreneur and something out there you can do, you would do it. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about football.
In Trinidad and Tobago right now. I mean, what is happening now is nothing strange happening. Because football has been in total anarchy from since time immemorial. So it's a way of life. I don't think with the settling of this thing so far will bring any change, very serious change. Because first, and have your people who believe in what they have and how they can develop and share and make it work. I hear most of them speak of the youth and that what's going on with the whole thing that was going on with Mr. Wallace and there. But truthfully, if we dig deep, because I've been commentating on sports since about 1981. I came in very, very, very young in the business. And we know all the ills. And it's not just here, it's around the world. So what they are saying with the youths and what was going to happen pending if FIFA should ban Trinidad and Tobago, the youths will suffer. Honestly, I was hoping that Trinidad and Tobago would have been banned for a while on the basis that we have a number of people who profess to love and to care about the youths and so on. And in the process, they're the ones who have been hurt. And when I hear people talk about they keep them away from drugs and all these sorts of stories, it's a joke. You know, I know much better.
So share with me why would it be better? Because I like that statement you made because it might work out better for us, like you said. So, but tell me what's in your thoughts about
my thoughts in that direction.
Being banned.
Right. Now look, it would have been a chance for the people here who say they love football to actually sit down and work out the differences. And how could we really change the storyline, the narrative and this whole thing? It's time to have a different field for the sport. We went through the Jack Horner era, and for whatever reasons, Jack had his stage, he knew how to play it, and he played it well. Enough for himself, as some would say. And then people will come back and tell you, hey boy, Jack gets to the World Cup, you know, Jack is the man who gets to the World Cup. So, but you have to give him his pips for his persistency and all that. And the only thing that hurt me was that when I saw in the early days, when Russell Latapy and Dwight York and they were playing under 12 and these competitions, the effort, the energy, and the input they made into the sport was something else. But they rode that horse right down to the end. And Don Quixote was really sad with his horse for not getting up and taking him to the finish line. So we lost a lot with that. We rode Dwight York to the finish, Latapy, some of them came back to give. So I think that if we had actually gone through a ban, and then you're not playing any football for a while with anybody. Now, the politician said, Pyrrhic, you know, and like a false orgasm. A moment of pleasure and then disappeared. But I thought that, if we were serious, or if we really serious about our football, it'd be an opportunity for us to build something proper out of it. And I've been around, I've seen them, and I'm not very happy with what I've seen happening, and it would have been good.
Let me break you here for a second because we need to take a break, but I'll let you pick up as soon as we come back. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Believing I'd become a sports commentator. They were far-fetched. I thought that with me, an inspiration came to me, and I responded to the inspiration. And whatever happened from
Okay, welcome back, viewers. All right, Selwyn. You were saying?
As we were speaking about the possibility of the ban and a long ban. I mean, if you get involved with the football, I mean, you're involved, and we know, but if you really get seriously involved in this thing, and a number of scribes are coming onto the scene, they pretend. And, you know, we're not here to bash anybody, or that's not my style. But what we are seeing happening, a number of people are now jumping into the fray. We have to be a part of this. And who wants to travel, who has a big interest of traveling to Zurich, to be in the headquarters of football, who want to make all the trips around the world. But we forget the people who are playing football. And that's where I have my ill feelings about. And they're all going to show themselves up, especially in the possible new dispensation here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we'll see those who say that they have the sport at heart would find it very difficult to be true to the sport. And the same youths that we speak about and we want to help will see them struggling to get anywhere. So yeah, a good ban for Trinidad and Tobago would prove whether the people who say that they love football and they love the youths will be able to give their heart and soul to the sport in a situation where a cloud is over us and we have to clear that dark cloud and bring true light to it. And we have a chance here of developing a lot more of our players. There's no question about the quality and the talent that is here in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we have 1.3 million people. And there was a time when we were ranked 27th in the world, when Bertil was the coach, and we had players like Naked and Shaka Hislop and Dwight York and Latipi. We were ranking. We were a deadly team. So we don't have that kind of presence anymore, excuse me. So when you look at where we were, right now, with our ranking, we cannot get players in some of the major teams in Europe.
Correct.
And there's a reason for that. You look at the last 4 years in particular, and how our players and the game really went down. And I don't think the right attitude was placed for those who were given the authority to lead. They didn't understand the role that they had to play and how it should be played. So, yeah, that's where I lean with ban, get the people who say they love football, because there are a number of coaches in this country who don't get value for the work that they do. People see some players come out, but a coach who has a measure of wisdom and an eye for poking, stealing, they know when to show up and pull a player and say, "Ah, boy, a future boy, let's take him." And they get all the fame. They get them signed in major clubs abroad. And nobody knows about that coach who was there when they had no money to transport that kid to go to the football field, to practice, to play. The coach digging into his pocket, pulling out money, and nobody recognized these people for what they do. And then the sophisticados and them, they show up when it's right, and they pick a player, and then they get £1 million for a player or whatever, and they feel very good about it, and they take all the fame. So yeah, let's recognize the people who give heart and soul to the sport, and that would have been my feel and my justification for seeing the sport going to another level.
You think it would grow a little bit? Narada, you have a question?
Yeah. No, I know we spoke on this issue before. You know, it's almost like separating the sheep from the goat. You know, let's see if we really stand without any money, without any rank, without any perks and benefits that come with football. If our heart is true to the sport. But what I would say now is, given the fact that it seems to be now back on track or going in another direction, where do you see the brand? And I try to tie it back to the Soca Warriors. Where do you see the brand Soca Warriors going now?
Honestly, the lawyers and they would be very happy to have that relationship with the brand name and the sport continue along that line. But I don't know what's going to happen. Right. Because we live in a country here where you could never know what the people will do. And as a brother, you have to work harder, as Stalin said. So, yeah, I think the good thing for me is that an important area of the subject matter has been settled, but it's now up to the football people, whether they are willing and they are interested in making it happen. Right. I think when you look back on, well, they tried, from the John Williams administration, they tried everything to drop the name because we had many battles with that. There were stories of meetings, general meetings in the TTFA, where they were willing to spend money to have children in the school go and come up with a name for the national football team and all those things. And bottom me none, because when a man dies, everything perishes with him. His legacy will be with his generations or whatever, and that would be the future as it continues. So to me, it's more than how a lot of people fight for office positions and all that. When I'm out there, you don't know who I am. I have out there working, and we have crews working and so on. Nobody knows who I am. I speak to my people before, and if I see something, I would whisper in a man's ear. So office doesn't mean anything to me. What I have and what God has given to me, I have tried in every way possible to use that in the best way I can to help mankind. And that's where I stand.
With that being said, in terms of wanting to coin, and I'm using this for an example, we had different eras, and Steve
Yeah,
and I spoke on this. That may have had a name, and I would like to ask you in two capacities. When you coined the name, is it that you purposely tried to come up with something that could be a legacy and left? Or did it end up becoming a legacy name due to the fact that the success came? Because I believe just like the Strike Squad, it's very synonymous with an event.
Yeah.
But it may not have traveled simply because the event may not have ended in a positive light.
Yeah.
Just as the name Soca Warriors or whatever name we may have had could have probably stopped had we not qualified.
Amen.
Do you think in 98 when you sat and penned it, you said, this is what I want for me to create a name that would be synonymous with our national football men's team? Or did you just want to create it for a particular era and maybe it carried on because of the success the team had?
Well, Soca Warriors penning is like me growing up in Space Tobago and believing I'd become a sports commentator. They were far-fetched. I thought that with me, an inspiration came to me, and I responded to the inspiration. And whatever happened from there would have been what the Lord said he wanted and what eventually happened. But I never really thought of how big the name would be, where it would go. And the good thing is that it came at a time when we had a success. So it touched the world. You know, the first, we qualified as the smallest nation ever then to qualify for the World Cup. And all those factors that went there, we had some international stars who were well known: Dwight York, Shaka Hislop, Clayton Ince, Angus Even. So we had established people who have been around the world played. So we had support there for that. Right. But to tell you that it was going to be a brand that would turn the world upside down, it wasn't really in my mind, honestly. But when it happened, I said, well, I welcome that. And even with the negative side that came, I was just cool. People don't understand, yeah? How we grew up in Tobago, simple. I tell men, I know what they call hard knocks. We weren't poor in the sense that we had food every day and there was always food on the table. But I tell men, on a morning, if the cow wasn't giving milk, we take hot water tea, right? Or bush tea, or whichever one, Right. Peel a lime, take the lime peel and drop it in there, right. and we're okay. So those are things that made me be a very humble man. And I grew up in a very humble way. But when I got the opportunity to become a broadcaster, I came in, I did it, and I wasn't, looking to be no superstar. But the thing for me was efficiency. Once I got a chance to do a job, whatever it may be, I want to do that in the best way possible. I did the best I could have done.
What would you like to see, though? What would you like to see down the road? Would you like to be back in your rocking chair and say to your great-great-grand?
I'll follow the Syrians there. Huh? There's no retirement in there.
No, I didn't say retire. You're just in your rocking chair.
Well, chill would give me a kind of will that I may not want to follow, but I fight it. But honestly, there's going to come a time when I want to look back, sit down, and enjoy life. I have grands, I have grandchildren, and they enjoy being with me, and I enjoy being with them. So we are very happy, and I enjoy life.
You boast about that name, Soca Warrior? That, hey, I am the one.
I'm not the fellow.
You're not like that kind of guy?
I don't want to say I'm the one.
Yeah.
Or I did this and I did that. No, whatever you may say, I appreciate that. Sometimes some of my friends I grew up with in Tobago, that is boy, Selwyn Melville, boy, he's the man with the sportscaster and thing, and I get uneasy because it's not my play. All right, my play is different. I go very quietly, do what I have to do, and I disappear. Sometimes I even tone my voice down so that there wouldn't be any kind of recognition or people reacting.
You're very humble. You know what you're doing? You're doing what I do. But I'll corner you now. You know, when I walk the road and people say, Steve, thanks for the memories, I feel real good about that.
Yeah.
Do you ever get in a situation where somebody says, Selwyn, thanks for that name, Soca Warrior?
A lot of people come to me and say things.
And how you feel?
No, it feels good inside, but I'm not the overt guy where I go out there and I show it and I walk around, you know what I mean? Big and bad.
Yeah.
No,
You feel good.
it feels
You
good
feel
to know
proud
that
about
for the blessing I received, more than anything else, the blessing. So there are those who tried in many ways to ensure that this guy doesn't enjoy that gift that he received.
Okay, so now that you are there, what would you like to see that name carries how far down the road? Forever?
Well, so as long as I see the planet exists,
You want to see that name go?
it goes on. Those who are now part of my generation and to come, I want them to be able to enjoy that. They may probably carry more physical expressions on the name than I probably would do in my life, you know? Like most people this morning, I could have put on a T-shirt, Soca Warriors on the chest, and come here and get the brand.
You're not that kind of person.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah, I don't want that.
Okay, so if you now had the opportunity to, like you said, now in football, we need people who love it. And if we get a suspension, might be the best thing for us to go forward, because we need to build again to get the greats. Now, I'm putting you in that position. Selwyn, you are the new life for football. How are you going to take it, and where are you going to take it? How are you going to
Well,
build this?
there had to be a lot of introspection into what's going on in the sport.
Yeah.
And we have a number of people. There are genuine people out there, but they are put in the shade. They cannot be seen. You're not supposed to show up. So we're not putting any LED lights on you. And we put the lights really down low. Don't say anything. But there are a number of people who are doing, a lot of good things for the football, or the sport on a whole. I'd like to see them get the just reward, and that they can continue to give. And from there, we unearth a lot of talent. Because Trinidad and Tobago is second to none, really, with the talent that we have. And too many people take credit for what they don't deserve. And it's time deserving people get their reward. So I would love to see, if I have to get involved in the future, is to see the people who really can honestly and wholeheartedly contribute to the further development of the sport here, that they get just reward. Then it might be easier for us to get to another World Cup final. And people have to say, well, this one got us there. But the players got us there because we were able to work with the talent that we have. We give them the opportunity to give the creative things that we need for the sport, and boom, we are here. We got it again.
Okay, now you've seen that we don't have the talent to take us too far. You've seen that, which I believe is true. We don't have that talent. We have to rebel. Administratively, do we have the people, you think, now around football that can take us there, and who are those people?
Well, to be honest with you, Ray, I felt that with the last administration, I was kicked out. I felt that they had a good chance of bringing a different face to the sport. Because what we've been seeing in the last couple of years going by, we've not been getting the love that the sport deserves. And when you take your country to that level, and then the morning you get up after, everything safe away, everything gone, nothing working, it ain't tasting good. So I believe that, and to the point, I believe we have talent, We have players like you who are hidden, but they're not getting the opportunity. And then the structural packages that we have for administration have not demonstrated what is required to take us to the next level, take us back to where we were. And the energy and the love for it has to come back. So we have to find those people. And we see that most of our administration and the people who lead in that area don't really give the sport what it deserves. And I mean, I'm in around many sports, and I see what happens. You know, I travel the world, Olympic Games, Pan Am Games, CAC Games, all those things. We see the talent that we have, those who went out and those who stayed home. And it's about friendship. It's about, I like you. You know, as a young man in South, the South boys weren't getting the exposure to come into town and play. You had to be exceptional. You had to dribble down the whole field. Everybody lying on the ground and they say, Steve David, decimate the field, boy. And then they say, yeah, we're the picky, you know? And that's what we don't want. I mean, you look at the history. Being from Tobago, we had really good players in Tobago who could have contributed to Trinidad and Tobago's football. Even growing up in Speyside, we had some people. We had a guy from Charlottesville called Sheba, a guy called Newton George in Speyside. These fellas were impossible. The village was small, but every man jack would leave home in the afternoon, there's football, and come out. You know, the days when many, what used to call catch. So you're dribbling. There are some dribblers that we had. Men kicking stone, they used to stone by their leg and things, so kicking stone and all that kind of thing, because we had quality. So
Okay,
we have
it. Sorry. Now that we need to take a break. When we come back, I heard you mention the last administration was a good one. I want you to expand on that a little bit, and it sounds as though FIFA wasn't fair, and if they were, I want you to talk about that as well. Okay, viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
To say that, muy peligroso, that's dangerous, you know. But yeah, they acted too fast. And then from what I've been following and seeing, is that they did not even put in a defense. Now, if you look at some of the scribes, they've criticized the judge.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. You're watching Field of Dreams and ACTN. Okay, Selwyn, like I said, I heard in your conversation, I heard a lot of things. I heard we need to rebuild, and so to speak. Maybe a ban is good for us. The last administration didn't get the opportunity to, because they had good people, but they didn't get the opportunity to make it happen. So my question to you is, did FIFA come in too quick, or FIFA unfair, or tell me how you feel about the present situation with that.
Like my taekwondo master would say, something wrong.
Something wrong.
Wrong.
The Chinese.
Right.
Chinese thing. Yeah.
But in October of last year, the news came to me. I got the message that if the existing administration is not put back in power, FIFA will not be given any money to Trinidad and Tobago. And there are other scribes out there who had the same information available to them.
Mm-hmm.
So most people were waiting with bated breath to see, well, how FIFA would really react. Honestly, FIFA has to explain, which they have not explained as yet, the truth or the true reason why they got rid of the Wallace regime. There are a number of pieces out there. They don't like this one. This one was in CONCACAF before. He represents a past time in the football, and we don't have problems with that person. Then there were talks about Jack Warner advising the people who were seeking to become United TTFA to be part of to help them to win the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that from international journalists who called me and tried to get me involved in conversations. You're lucky that I'm here to sit down and talk, right? Because honestly, I've stayed away from all those shenanigans out there. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't think it's necessary for me. But FIFA, I think minds were made up already that they're not going to work with this organization. Because from even having conversations and people saying to me, well, look, or even on the day of the election, one member of the winning part of the team told me, they were told, as soon as you all get in office, do a forensic edit of the whole finances and all those things. And those are the same people who turn against them. The reason for that being, I think they were experienced con men, if you want to put it that. So what they do, they say, okay, we'll talk to you. You're a minnow, you're a newbie. Let me get all this information from you so we'll know, well, how to work with you. And they got the information. I think prior to that, there was this court matter with the finances at the TTFA, and a number of things were brought to the fore. How many millions were unaccounted for and all these things. So I think, and I heard as well, in a story that Josima newspaper did, and a friend called me to edit some pieces that the president of FIFA had actually said. And I have the recording, so I could say it and I could live without fear. Is that the boss said, when a friend is in trouble, you have to come and help. When a brother is in trouble, you have to come and help a brother. So those things were very obvious. And FIFA knew, well, this is not a body they can work with. So, but they acted, too soon. They didn't give them a chance to even settle, have breakfast, have a conversation proper. So that to me, and while our boss would have said that it's a pirate thing and it's a false victory and that will soon die out, and then the reality would come in. To say that, muy peligroso, that's dangerous, But yeah, they acted too fast. And then from what I've been following and seeing, is that they did not even put in a defense. Now, if you look at some of the scribes, they've criticized the judge for the decision she made. And then now we are finding out that the Act of Parliament doesn't have any weight in goal because both sides of the House did not sit down and formulate an argument for the Act of Parliament. Correct. So it doesn't have very much weight. But now they're saying that because what I'm seeing is that people are now looking for ways and means to carry their own thing. And in the process as well, the decision for the appeals court, we live in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not news to us that we take you 5 years and you're still paying lawyers and the case can't be settled. And this one settled in such a short space of time. So everything was packaged to fulfill. And what I like about my brother Wallace, honestly, is that he and the other members, they stood ground. Yeah, FIFA has its statutes and its rules, and you join the party, so if you can't dance to the reggae music or the soca, then stay out. You have your point. But how about human relations, boy? How about looking at the truth and say, why are we doing this? Who are we trying to please? No matter what happens here now, and what I'm seeing that a number of people now are speaking in a very positive way, and now having a chance to look back and seeing all the anarchy that would have taken place, and that we should have been looking at things differently. Some say, hey, the argument on the one side, that Wallace on their side, they're legal people, the judge, and the appeals court, the argument basically the same. So the approach was different in one way or the other. Yeah, so FIFA knows that they have done wrong. And sensible people here would say, yeah, something wrong was done. There are people here who have an interest for themselves, and they see it as gospel now. Say, hey, my chance has come for me to be an official here, this, that, the other. We're getting money now. It's $1.2 million a year FIFA, I think, gives to the association and so on. So we in the money, and we in this and we in that. But basically, when you sit down and look at it, that's not human. And I always raise the point that FIFA has a banner, yellow and blue, that says fair play. Show me where the fairness is. They would have gone out and spent a lot of money, encouraged a lot of people to support them. Then at the end of the day now, 4 months and you're gone. You owe people, as far as I'm concerned. But as FIFA is concerned, we are the big bad wolves here. And it's very interesting that while all this is happening, the president of FIFA, under his own investigation, is on fire as well. Yeah. So these are things I have to watch. There's news now that the president has contracted the COVID and the coronavirus. And we can't tell. That fellow named COVID, he's a great equalizer.
No, do you agree?
I think we had this discussion on numerous occasions about the timing, the explanations given, what could be the benefits or, prejudices faced, in this situation. The unfortunate thing, is that, well, unfortunate or fortunate, depending on which side of the fence you stand on, is that it has reached more or less the end, and we now have to look at where do we go forward.
It's important.
Problem is that where we go forward, we've still seen, or it hasn't been settled, but we've still seen a few names pop up as being now the people that will possibly take it going forward, So again, for me, I have maintained that for a lot of time, we've seen success in football in Trinidad and Tobago. And though recognizing the success, we've not realized or acknowledged that the success did not come in the best way. So a lot of persons that tend to lead towards wanting that success tend to stay down that same road because we've not been able to see 100% honest, person leading the football. So what happens is that everyone that's getting there seems to have some sort of dark cloud over themselves. And I think for the last 10 years, maybe, we have to see persons who did not necessarily benefit from the successful period we had in football getting more involved because the human resource is tarnished. Yeah. I don't know if it's something you will agree with me, but that is what I believe. I believe the human resource in football, for those that are willing to take the risk, have been tarnished.
Yeah, you're right. And I think what has happened there, some administrators looked at what may have happened in the past and figured that is the status quo.
Yeah.
That is the pattern we must follow.
Correct.
To get football where it's supposed to go. But they looked at the pinnacle and you're not seeing the ground level, the heart, the tears, you know what I mean? When I listen to some of these players, like there's a guy, Frankie Mohammed, who went to Signal Hill and played Signal Hill. And he tell you the stories that they had on a Sunday with Bertil. They had to go up to the countryside, Castara, Speyside, wherever, and miss out on a Sunday meal. But a lot of people were putting their heart and soul in these players. I know when Dwight York got the opportunity to go out, Bertil and they were Christmas Day, and his name was one of the coaches from Aston Villa came to Tobago on a Christmas Day. There was an Italian guy too was there. And Christmas Day they were out there hunting the man down to have a conversation and open the door for an opportunity for the player to get that. And then others jump in and take charge of the show. And that's where I say, with all heart and soul, that people who really have a heart for the sport be given that chance to project themselves. But will they be allowed? No, because fame is at the top, not at the bottom, So we don't want to know about how hard you work to get this player to look good. He good looking now, I'm showing up all dressed up with my suit and tie. And nobody's going to send me a ride. I'm staying in the mix.
Before you leave, because we're running down, time is running down now, what would you like to see happen? Now that we know that FIFA is going to come in, they're going to bring in the normalization committee, and they're going to take over football. What would you like to see happen, the end result, or take it to whatever you want. Somebody else, who
I
are you
hope-
want to see in charge or whatever.
I hope that a lot of evaluation will take place. There'll be a lot of thinking, and they're looking at Trinidad and Tobago in itself, one of the leaders in the Caribbean and in the region for football. So to hurt Trinidad and Tobago is to hurt the region. And I think it's not just about Trinidad and Tobago now, it's about the entire region. It's in a mess. They disintegrated. Someone created a crack, a fissure in that volcano, and it exploded. And if you look now and you start to look at, well, where are we going from here? First, we have to have, because in the past, no matter what way have happened, the Caribbean was together. And there's a voice that was pushing the Caribbean. Because they had their value on that, and they know what it was presenting, so they had to keep it that way. Then some of the people who have come in didn't understand what unity is here about. We have a West Indies cricket team. And yeah, we had major success because we worked together as a team. We have to start working together as a country and the region to bring football to where it really is. And we're a pillar in football in the region. So I hope that FIFA would, whatever would happen, now we have to forget all the bruises and things that existed and see how we can heal. So what are they gonna, how are they gonna see football in Trinidad and Tobago? How are they gonna erase those debts and take that pressure off the backs of the football and ensure that we can now develop further Trinidad and Tobago's football. And what may have happened may have its benefits down the road. People say things today, but when Kaepernick knelt in the game and everybody was against the man, he can't even get a job yet. But you know what? Today, they are kneeling all over the world because they, down the road, at a later time, realized the value of the conversation and then starting to relate. So I hope that what may have happened for Wallace and Day, yeah, it's hurting and it's bad. But if it can bring about change and a difference and for the development for the football in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm all for that, and that's what I'd like to see happen.
Would you like to see them, Wallace and Day back in office again?
Well, Wallace is a good friend. I wouldn't want to see him back in office. I think that they would have realized that not everyone who sits next to you really is your friend. And everybody who said, I love you, really love you. And not everybody who come and give you a kiss is not deceiving. So for him and Clint Taylor and the others, I made my mark. I did what I had to do. History will say that I did this, we did that, we made a difference in the game, not on the field, but what transpired on the field eventually. And to me, muy chévere.
Do you have anybody that you think could make that happen?
You're asking for people's CV and all that, right?
No, I mean, would you like to see me as a president of the TTF?
Well, you know, people like you, I mean, honestly, you've been there, you've done that, you went through some of the ugly things and the beautiful things about the game. So you have the experience, the knowledge, and the understanding of how to treat situations like that. I would never argue if something like that happened. And I think that you, with your development over the years, would not be overawed with the situation and try to impose yourself on the people. But you're wise enough. That's what good years do, you know, they give you wisdom, you know, and they tell you, well, hey, I don't have to quarrel with this, you know. Like I tell people, where there's pollution, there's solution, you know.
Tell you what, you're wiser because you're not going to see me. You're not going to see me in there, right?
So you're trying to set me up, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to set me up.
No, yeah, it's not going to happen. Anyhow, I want to thank you for being here, but I appreciate the conversation, the knowledge that you extend, whatever.
Muchas gracias.
Continued success in whatever you do.
Hey,
And
God
thank
is
you
good.
so much.
Yeah.
All right.
I wish you all the success, man, and you all are doing an excellent job with this project. Continue to do it, continue to help the people, expose them, bring out the truth, and let the love flow, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Narada, thank you for being here too. brother.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Always.
All right, thanks very much, man.
Pleasure to have you as well.
Yes, sir.
ACTN, thanks for the opportunity. Viewers, thanks for viewing every Monday, and we do repeat on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So if you miss it on Monday night at 8 o'clock. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out. And we do have an email address, fieldofdreamtt@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. Show us then to go in peace. My name is Steve David. Good night.